Guys, I am so excited. I have Miss Kellie Rhymes with me. She is the Limitless Mindset Coach. And what I am so grateful for and excited for is the conversation around female baldness. Bald is beautiful. You're here to share your story and how you've completely pivoted your life with this topic. So it's something we've never talked about. Kellie, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I am so happy to be here to talk about this topic.
I, as I said, we've never covered it here, but I think it's something that, especially now, is a big one when we think about our culture, our society.
Mhm.
So I'm going to jump off here with a big question. Why do
Okay.
men get to be bald, but women don't?
Why do men get to be bald, but women don't?
It kind of makes me mad.
Yeah, yeah. It's because of the beauty standards that society has set, really. When you think about it, years ago, I mean, I don't know how old you are, anybody who's listening, I don't know how old anybody is, but I'm in my 40s. And I remember when it was a taboo or a thing when men were going bald. Like they would wear toupees and they would try to cover it up and, really try to hide it. But now it has become this thing that makes them look distinguished and sexy. And it's just totally like changed, right? So why can't that be for women? Why is it that we have to have all this long, thick, luxurious hair? And that's what the beauty standards are. When we know in reality, most women don't have long, thick hair. Realistically, if you see a woman with a long, thick hair, they probably have extensions. So I'm here to help change that because there are plenty of women out there with hair loss and they're covering up and just like the men used to do. But since the men have been able to kind of pivot that and change it around, why can't we do it as women?
do,
So
do,
I'm here to help.
do you think it's going to take longer? Like,
Oh,
do you think
yes.
the beauty standards are set so high and so much different on a different level for women that we have a more challenging mountain to climb here?
Of course, we do, not just societal standards, but just think of the big businesses, the beauty market, the beauty industry. They make so much money off of women that they're not just going to let that go. Like that's a $1 billion industry. They're not going to just say, hey, okay, you guys, feel free to be bald or feel free to cut off your hair and, you don't use our products anymore.
Yeah,
Take
I
money
feel
out of
like
our
they
pockets.
they might not like that so much.
No, it will take a long time. And I don't even think women overall, to be honest, most women aren't going to embrace it. If they're not experiencing hair loss themselves, of course, they're not going to embrace that. Even women who are experiencing hair loss don't want to embrace it and accept that they're losing their hair and they're still trying to cover it up. So it will take some time.
It's an interesting conversation because I mean, I've had long hair, I have shorter hair now,
Mhm.
but imagining that being the position I'm in where I'm losing my hair. I've gone through health challenges in the past just where it started to thin
Mhm.
from thyroid issues,
Yeah.
and it was, I want to say, embarrassing. Like it's scary and concerning, but there's also this embarrassment that, and how do I cover it up?
Exactly.
And I had, now in the role that you are with your coaching business, and from your story specifically, how did you wrap your head around it? And for no pun intended there, but
Yeah.
how did you sort of grapple with it and overcome it? Because I
It's
know for me it was a challenge.
Yes, it's a challenge. And I will definitely say up front, it took me years. I want to say it was over 14 years
Wow.
of me just kind of going through this and covering it up and hiding it. Yeah, I only the hair loss, and my hair loss is caused or is due to alopecia. But the only people that knew were the people close to me. And make my close friends, but everybody else, no one else knew. No one else knew. So they would all support me and help me with covering it up because that's what I wanted. But as soon as I embraced and said, hey, I don't want to do that anymore, I'm cutting my hair off, they loved it and embraced it even more than I did. And that just helped boost me up even more. So yeah, definitely it's a challenge because first of all, whenever you're experiencing or first experiencing the hair loss, it's automatic like, okay, I'm panicked. Let me go search and figure out how I can solve this. Let me go Google. Let me Google. Let me go on YouTube. Let me see what products are out there so I can naturally grow my hair back. What supplements I can take. What can I do? And then when you start figuring out, oh, it's not growing back with all of these things that I'm doing and all this money I'm spending on these products. Okay. And then it's kind of also a denial in there too, because you don't want to accept that your hair is not going to come back. So you keep going. At least this is what I did. I kept going, whether that was, going to the dermatologist and, figuring out what was actually happening with me. And when I did do that, I found out that I have what they call scarring alopecia. That's the nickname for it. So scarring alopecia actually comes from hair products and hair styling and tension you're putting on your hair. So when I was little, I would get relaxers like most African American women. We would get relaxers to straighten our hair. That was the norm, right? Because we were trying to fit into society. So that is what we were doing, not knowing that those relaxers would take our hair out later on. Now, over the years, my hair was getting thinner and thinner, but of course, when your hair is really, really coily and, curly, and then you relax it, it goes straight, it's going to automatically look thinner because, it's straightened, right?
Yep.
But I could definitely tell the difference from when I was younger, how thick my hair was, even when it was straightened out, versus when I got a little bit older and it was straightened out. And I could clearly see the difference. But I didn't know it was that I was still losing my hair,
Yeah.
until I actually saw a bald spot. That's when I really realized, okay, my hair is coming out, but what can we do?
Was that a kind of a jarring moment for you when you saw that bald spot for the first time?
Not immediately, just because I'm like, okay, maybe I had locks or what people call dreadlocks. So I would get my hair twisted to keep it neat. So I just thought, well, maybe it's getting twisted too tight, so it's pulling my hair. So that was the immediate thought. And basically my cousin and I, we were just like, okay, let's just watch it and let's see if it starts filling back in. She would do my hair. So she would say, I'm not going to twist it too tight in this area so that it can, grow back. But once I realized that it wasn't growing back and that actual patch was getting larger, then I knew it was a little bit more, but I just didn't know what it was. So at that point, that's when I chose to have my locks combed out instead of having them cut out. And this tells you something about me as well, because I did not cut off my locks. My hair was like all the way down here. I did not want to cut them off because I didn't want to cut my hair off.
Yeah.
That was my mentality, right? So instead of having them cut out, I had them combed out. And that took days of doing that. And it was a process and it was pretty harsh on my hair. But when I had them combed out, my hair was thin, of course, but I was like, oh, I just had locks combed out. So of course my hair is gonna, with some breakage and, I have to give it some time to just nourish and flourish, and all of those things. So I was still in denial.
The dreaded D word. We all go through it at some point.
Yep, yep, yep,
um,
yep.
so at this point in your career, like as you're starting to take note, you kind of have these nudges that there's something going on, but you're still in denial, right?
Mm-hmm.
Were you still in the real estate business? Because you pivoted to coaching. You were in real estate previously. So was this all going on? And how did that impact your business and how you showed up?
Well, okay, so I'm still in real estate because I'm a
Okay.
real estate investor. So I'm still involved in real estate.
Okay.
Back then, I'm not really an agent. I don't have to work with clients per se. But as an investor, you normally have to work with other investors or do networking meetings and meet other people who are investing so that you can get more deals and different things like that. So at that time, it didn't impact me too much because those events and those networking things, I had the choice to go to it, right? So if I was going through something, realistically, I just didn't go because I'm like, I'm just trying to figure out what's happening with me. Not that I was worried about what people thought, because I felt like I was doing a pretty good job of covering it up. Even though on the inside I was self-conscious, insecure a little bit, on the outside, I never showed it. Only people that knew were the people closest to me, best friends, things like that, that we would talk about it every now and then, but it wasn't anything that I wore on my sleeve and I was like constantly talking about. So nobody really knew that this was something that I was really kind of struggling with, but I just kept it moving. I kept it pushing forward. I kept doing everything I needed to do. And if there were things that I felt like I didn't want to do, I just did it. But like I said, I was pretty good at disguising it. So there wasn't much that I was hiding from back then.
Was there ever any person that came up to you after the fact that you thought maybe you were hiding it from, but somebody
Yes,
saw?
yes. So when I first started losing my hair, I did not know how to buy wigs at all. Not at all. So this was also the time where I know there are different types of wigs now, lace fronts and everything that makes it look so natural, even though we know people are wearing wigs, it still kind of looks a little bit more natural. But back then, those lace fronts and different, newer technology, I guess you want to call it, for wigs was just coming out to the mainstream. Now they may have had it in Hollywood, or famous people might have had access to good wigs and custom made wigs, but we had to still go to the beauty store and go pick out a wig and try to figure out what looks good on us. So I picked this wig. I was wearing it. It was during that first phase of when I combed out the locks, and I, would wear wigs every now and then to try to cover it up again, or try while I was trying to figure out my own hair. That was just the easiest thing for me to do. And I went to go visit a family member. And I just walked in, said hello, and did my thing. And then I was leaving. And as I was leaving, she comes out and it's just us two. And she's like, yeah, I just don't wear that wig anymore. Like, and I was just like, okay. Now I'm thinking I look okay. I'm thinking I'm all right, everything's good. She was like, baby, don't wear that wig anymore. Now she didn't know what was going on with me. She didn't ask any questions. And I didn't want to disrespect her because she was older, than I was. So I was just like, oh, okay. I just kind of let it blow off and I didn't say much. But that hurt my feelings and it hurt my pride and ego. Like, okay, people will just, they think they can say anything, even if, whether they're related or not, they think they can just say anything
Family
and not
tends to take,
consider.
I'm sorry, but family tends to take more liberties that because of the F word.
Yes. Yep.
But go
Yep.
ahead.
Yep. And it's like, can you ask questions, have some considerations? I mean, you could have at least asked, well, why are you wearing this wig? What's going on? Like have some compassion, some consideration. But no, it was like totally like, yeah, basically you look a hot mess. You don't need to wear that anymore. Excuse me, I've been looking like this all day.
Right.
Oh, so you tell me I look like this and I look a mess and I've been looking like this and no, okay, fine. I mean, granted, I guess I could be happy that someone at least told me so then I could like stop wearing that wig and figure something else out. But at the same time, it did not feel good.
Did you ever reconcile this moment with that person later on?
No, but that's on me. That's on me because I'm the type of person who I'll just keep it moving. It happened, keep it moving. It wasn't anything where I felt like I had to make a big deal out of. So no, I just left it alone.
I want to take a step back for a second and talk about you're starting to see these spots popping up.
Mhm.
You go to the doctor. What happened? Like, how quick was it for that diagnosis to come? Were you prepared for what came next? Can you walk us through sort of those parts of your story?
Okay. So I decided to go to a dermatologist finally just to say, hey, what is happening here? And mind you, I have on a wig and my hair is kind of like braided down. The hair I had, it was kind of like braided down, right? So I'm sitting there, he comes in, I have my wig on, and the nurse or his assistant comes in with them. And I'm just sitting there and I'm talking to him and I'm like, okay, I have some hair loss. I don't know what's happening. My hair it just keeps coming out. And then I snatched my wig off, like, look. And he's like, okay. So he looked at it and he's like, you know what? I already know what this is. This is alopecia. You have alopecia and you have scarring alopecia. Now, this was an African American dermatologist. He had seen this before in African American women. So it really wasn't a whole lot to it. He just was like, this is what you have. I've seen it a million times. This is why you have it. And your hair is not growing back. He pretty much laid it out on the table. But
Were you
again,
like, don't you want to run a test? Are you sure?
at that time, no, because I was younger and didn't even know what the process was.
Gotcha.
Didn't even know what was supposed to be happening, blood working. I didn't. So I just accepted it because I'm like, okay, well, clearly this is big. My hair's been coming out for a minute now, and I can see what he's saying. So I just took what he said and just rolled with it. But even still, I was like, but I can still fix this. I can now go get hair transplants. Now that I know, I can go get hair transplants then because I'm still trying to solve the problem. I'm still trying to grow my hair back. I'm not accepting it that it's not coming back. So then that's when I proceed to start going to the place to see about getting a hair transplant. Had to get some tests run there. The doctor, he was like, well, let me take a sample like of my scalp. He like took hair follicle just to see if I would be a viable candidate. So after he did that, he was like, yeah, I mean, he was like, you can get it, but you're wasting your money. If you get a hair transplant, all it's going to do is the hair that's transplanted at the top is just going to come right back out. Your follicles are actually coming out of your head. He's like, when your hair comes out and you see this little piece, that is your follicle. So I was like, okay, all right. So no hair transplants. All righty. What do we do now? What do we do now? So I just spent several more years wearing wigs, weaves, extensions, whatever I could do to cover it up and kept going.
Ooh.
Yeah.
What were some of those emotional stages for you? I mean, obviously we know there was denial.
Oh, yeah.
And you ended up at acceptance, but what was in between there?
Okay, so we talked about denial. Then there became frustration. Because again, I'm trying to figure it out. I'm trying to do all of these things to say, hey, I can solve this. So frustration. After frustration, there was a little bit of anger. A little bit. That didn't really last long because I'm not the type of person that holds on to anger. I know stuff bothers me, yes, but not in a way that I'm angry about it. So there was a little bit of anger, but just because I'm like, I'm young. Why? Is this happening to me? I don't understand. Why? Basically. But after that, it was just kind of like, okay, I just started dealing with it. It wasn't like I accepted it or embraced it so much. It was just like, I just got to deal with it. And it became my normal everyday life to just deal with it and cover it up. This is so basically, hey, what's my hairstyle for the next week or so? Am I wearing a wig or am I going to put extensions in? How am I styling my hair? So Sundays became my hair day. That became the day where okay, what are we doing this week? Need to wash my hair. Are we braiding it? How are we doing it this week?
As you're
And that
going
just was
through
my life.
as you're going through this process each week, did you feel like there was continuing progression? Like, did the emotional response that you were having, because like normally we don't heal through things on a straight line.
No.
So like, did you feel that kind of up and down, the highs and lows, where you would take a step back in the denial and then a couple steps forward? Like, what was that like for you?
So I would be okay with, hiding and covering it up, doing what I needed to do. But then there would be something like a job interview. So now it's like, okay, how do I show up to this job interview? And then if I get the job, how do I look after that job? And, it was just like little stuff like that. Or going on vacation. Okay, so if I have to wear a wig, how am I going to secure this wig? If I want to go swimming, how is that going to work? So now I got to look and see, how do I sew this wig down? Like a lot of research, a lot of time and energy went into how do I make sure I'm always okay with my hair? That's what it became. What do I need to do? So there was setbacks. Yes, I would be okay. Then it'll be anxiety or stress because now I got to figure out something's happening. So how do I manage my hair through whatever is happening? And it was that was a constant thing, constant. So that's when I would say maybe there was a step back. Now, the other step back was I had to cut my hair off for the first time, and I wasn't prepared to do that. It was because I got a hairstyle and it actually took my hair out even more than what it was already happening. So I got like it was called a quick weave. And basically it's when your hair is molded down with like, let's just say a solution, think of it as a gel. So it gets your hair is hard. And then they take weave and put it in with hair glue on top of your hair. Well, I apparently I had a bad reaction because when I tried to wash that out, my actual hair was coming out. So instead of me having like thin spots or bald spots at that point when I was washing it out, all of this was out. It came out. So I had to cut my hair off at that point, but I was not mentally ready. And when I cut my hair off, oh, I was so insecure, so self-conscious. I felt like I looked like a man. I felt ugly. I felt all of the things. And that really set me back because I thought it was going to be a step forward. Like, okay, I got to do this. So let me just give it a test run. Let me see how I feel. But when I did it, it only lasted for like maybe a month and a half. And I was back in the wigs. And I was letting my hair just grow under the wigs. And I just, every day, every single day, it was a wig for an entire year.
Wow.
Until my hair grew out to a certain length. And I was like, okay, I think I'm comfortable now trying to wear my hair out and maybe disguise it with a bandana and just have it out, you know, and kind of cover up the thin spot. So yeah, it was a whole year before I let my hair out again and for anybody to see. Yeah.
Where are you now with it? I mean, you're coaching women through it. You have a community that you've built. So there's definitely beyond acceptance, I would say.
Yes. Yes.
How has life changed for you now in terms of how you look at yourself, and that energy that you bring to your head at this point?
Well, now it's total like confidence. Like it's a norm. This is me. This is who I am. This is the authentic me, right? That's what I say. And I love it. I absolutely love it. I would not change it for the world. But it took time and it took me shifting my mindset to get here. And this is why I work with women because most of the time you just can't cut off your hair and just be okay. You're not. I don't know one woman really, unless you really are doing it for fashion, that just cuts their hair off and they're confident immediately, you know?
Right.
So I definitely had to work on myself. Like I said, that first time when I had to cut my hair off, it was all negative. But the next time when I actually chose this look, and that was in 2019, I had worked on myself. I was like, okay, I can't worry about people looking at me because people are going to look. You're a woman, you're bald. People are going to look. So get comfortable with it. Ignore it. You know, it's like they're not necessarily looking like in a mean way, but you're going to attract some attention. So, Kelly, how do you get comfortable with the attention you're going to attract? Because I'm an introvert. So I'm always that person just in the background, just chilling, not really, you know, in the forefront. So what do I need to do to be comfortable with people paying attention, so much attention to me when I'm the one who avoids the attention, you know? So just doing those things, taking the baby steps, knowing that I'm loved, knowing that I'm beautiful, and just really building myself up. And then getting uncomfortable with the, getting comfortable with the uncomfortable is what I want to say. Just doing certain things. So before I actually cut it off like this, I cut my hair really, really low. So think of it as like a man's haircut, but it was just, you know, it was still hair. It was just really, really low. And I would use hair fibers to cover up the thin and bald spots. So I wore my hair like that just to get comfortable because it was a low cut, still was going to attract attention. I would go out to lunch by myself and just do different things by myself that way so that I could start getting comfortable with the attention, you know, whatever. And then after that, that's when I went here and I was like, okay, I'm ready. I'm done. Time to cut it off. And
Amazing.
And that's what I did.
And I love that you mentioned, like, I love that we've talked about the process, first of all, because it's not something that you just wake up one morning and you're like, okay, here we go.
Exactly.
And I think it's important to recognize for anybody listening that it's okay to let yourself go through that process.
Mm-hmm.
You know, waking up and pretending that you're okay with it is very different than actually accepting that this is who you are in this moment and being willing to let yourself be uncomfortable for a little bit, but recognizing with that those baby steps, every time you take another step, it makes it easier. Because we can say, you know, just affirm that everything's great, not I am who I am, right? But until you decide, so I love that you used the word choice in there, because it was an active choice that you made, that you weren't just going to, okay, this is it, and sort of accept it in the energy of defeat. You were going to lean into it and accept it and choose to live with it in a way that truly embraces who you are. And when you make that pivot, right, that's a huge choice, but it's a conscious choice to take your power back
Yes.
and be who you actually are.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I love that you are sharing your story. And now you are helping women. You've built this community, and that emotional support is so important. If it, whether you're going through scarring alopecia, whether you're going through cancer, whatever it is, any sort of support is vital. What
Yes.
got you that inspiration to make the pivot out of real estate, or not out of real estate, but like this is like a sidestep? um, what inspired you to start growing this community?
Okay. So with the real estate, I was actually coaching in that space and I was coaching people how to have midterm or how to start midterm rentals. And that was a skill set I had. It was something I enjoyed. You know, I was successful at it. So I was like, okay, I could teach other people. I said, had a YouTube channel. So people started contacting me. So I was like, okay, cool. I can help other people. But that was different because it was, again, a skill set. Okay, I could teach because, again, also have a teaching background. So I can do all of these things, right? But with this is something where over the years, honestly, my intuition or higher power, whatever you want to call it, has been dropping it in my spirit. And I've been like, no, 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 no. I am not sharing my story with the whole world. I know, I
It's
am
funny
not.
how we do that.
Yeah. And it again, I don't even know how long it took, as far as these drops that, just every now and then it'll pop. Maybe you should start helping women with hair loss. It would just come in and then go out because I'm like, no, no. But then after being a coach in the real estate space, and I saw how that wasn't really serving me like wholeheartedly. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed seeing the progress of my students and them winning and all of those things. But my heart and my purpose was like, you need to do more. I really felt like that was a stepping stone. That was a stepping stone to teach me some things so that I could step into teaching women, coaching women on hair loss. So that's really what guided me to this. It was just really like, okay, it's time to end this coaching because you need to do something even higher. You need to do something more that's going to really, really impact people that you need to support. So that's when I was like, okay. And I didn't really burn that business all the way down to the ground because I still have my own midterm rentals, but I stopped really coaching in that space. I might take a call, for questions every now and then, but I pretty much burned it down for the most part just to build this back up or build this up. I guess I shouldn't say back up, build this up because this is what I really, really want to focus on. So that's what made me pivot. It was really purpose and passion and God, like, hey, it's time. and I felt it in my heart that it was time. And I was ready to share my story. And again, it still took me a little bit, even though it dropped in my spirit, like it's time for you to do this. I still was like, let me breathe on it. Oh gosh. It took me a long time to even, I would say not even a long time. It took me a couple weeks to even record my story on my website. It just sitting down and actually doing that and just like breathing through it and getting through it smoothly, because I recorded it one time and I scrapped it and had to sit down and record it another time, maybe another couple weeks later. So, it was just baby steps. And that's what I'm doing right now. I'm just like, hey, you know what? Baby steps. I might not have everything. I might not know all the answers, but I'm taking one step at a time, and it's going to get me to where I'm supposed to be. And that's just how I'm looking at it.
I love that. What has the response been from the community that when they're coming together, they're supporting each other? Tell us what that's been like for you and then for your members.
Oh gosh, it's a relief. It's like a weight, because it's an opportunity, just like, okay, let me stop, because my brain is like going fast and stop, right? So it's like women have the opportunity to really talk about what is really happening to them with other women who can relate. And that's a big deal, because even though my close friends and family might have known what was going on with me, I still didn't have a community to support. I mean, the only person who I could kind of talk to was my best friend, she's experiencing the same thing you are. She has thyroid issues and her hair, gets thin, or she has issues with her scalp. So we could talk and kind of connect, but she still wasn't losing her hair to the extent that I was. So there's a difference. So when women can get together and actually talk about what's happening, share stories, good, bad, whatever, and uplift each other, just to say, you know what, you are beautiful. You can post a picture, you are beautiful. You get all these hundreds and, comments, you're beautiful, whatever. That helps you out. That helps you make it through your day. Because some days, like all of us, whether you have hair or not, you wake up and you're like, I don't feel good today. I don't feel beautiful today, So to have a community of people like, hey, we're just like you, and we're here, we're beautiful, we're good, we're confident, or we're building our confidence, like it's different stages. But it's also good for a woman who is at the beginning of her stage to see another woman on another level, to say, okay, I know it's possible for me to get there. I know it's possible. And the other part is, it's a big thing when it comes to relationships, because there are so many women thinking that they will not be able to have a relationship, romantic relationship is what I'm referring to, with anybody because of their hair loss. They think no one's going to be attracted to them. And that's the farthest thing from the truth, right? I attracted my spouse looking just like this, you know? So that's another part. Like, it's all these different little intricacies that affect women with hair loss that you would never even think about.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the benefit.
Where can people find you? And I guess when I say people, like, is it exclusively for women? Can men be part of this too? Do men go through this? Like, do men have scarring alopecia?
Yeah,
Okay.
actually they do. Now I don't know the extent
Yeah.
of, how, because again, I'm only going to talk about the African American men because that's what I know. But they would use hair products too, in their hair as well, that cause hair loss. But normally it will be older African American men. It's not going to be the younger ones. So we're talking about men probably starting from the 80s, and before then, who would have used something in their hair that could have caused hair loss, right?
Gotcha.
So yeah, I mean, I don't think it's that big of as large as it is for women. But no, to answer your question, I only support women. It's a safe space for women, because it gets a little bit tricky. Again, this is about your identity. A woman is losing a piece of herself. It's already all of these things that she's facing, and to bring a man into the picture kind of, throws things off. So I stick with women, just because I also can speak from a woman's perspective. I don't know a man's perspective. I don't know what they are feeling or what they're going through. So that's why. But yeah, I'm just supporting women as of right now.
Okay, I love it. Now we're gonna wrap up in a minute, but I want to talk real quick about the Bougie Baldy Journal.
Okay.
Tell us what it is and where people can get it.
So the Baldy Journal is a free 90-day journal that I give out to women who just may need a kickstart, right? So you're losing your hair and you want to maybe write down your hair loss journey. Like write out what's going on, write out those emotions, how you're feeling, what you experienced, stories, setting goals. That journal is for all of that. It even has a place for you to write an affirmation on a daily basis, and it just kind of helps you track what's happening with you, whether you want to write out, oh, today I woke up and, so much hair was on my pillow, or, oh, today I see some progress. There's some hair growth is starting to fill in, whatever that may be. You put it in that journal and just kind of track over the whole 90 days. And you can just start with the 30 and go back and look. But also, at the end of each week within that journal, you can write goals for the next week, you write out your progress. Like there's different checkpoints within the journal for you to just stop and reflect and just take a look back. It makes you look back at the week and say, okay, what happened this week? Because, we go on with our daily lives. Time moves so fast. We forget. I forget all the time. If I don't intentionally stop and say, okay, what happened this week? What were my wins? What were some good things that happened? What were some challenging things that happened that I may need to work on next week and overcome? That is what the journal is for. It's just a step, just to help support you. And on this hair loss journal, journey, I said journal, her hair loss journey. And if you need additional support beyond that, then, reach out to me and I'm here for you. And you can find that on my website. So my website is limitlessmindsetcoach.com. Limitlessmindsetcoach.com. You can go there. I have the journal. I also have a hair loss support directory. So if you feel like you want to look for some support groups dedicated specifically to your type of hair loss, there are different categories of hair loss in there, and you could just go to, wherever you need to go and hook up with that support group. So then you can get the additional support you need. So that's what it is.
I love that. And we'll make sure that all the links are in the show notes, including your Instagram, your TikTok, your Facebook. I think I love the idea of the journal. And I think from the balding perspective for a woman, like there's that component to it. I also value that additional component that as women, we just don't like to celebrate our wins.
Yep.
And so it kind of gives you that reason to pause and celebrate your success, which also can sort of add another level of maybe a discomfort in the beginning, because we don't want to acknowledge that it is okay to celebrate our wins. But if you're not gonna, it's hard to think anybody else is going to.
Exactly.
But it's okay to pat yourself on the back and be proud of what you've accomplished. And I love that journal gives women a space to do that. So thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Any last minute thoughts that you want to share before we wrap up today, Kellie?
Well, I would say for women, whether you are experiencing hair loss or if there's something else about yourself that is causing you some emotional or mental challenges, give yourself grace. Give yourself grace. Like life isn't perfect. We know that, but you're still here. You still have a life to live. You still have joy in your heart, happiness in the world. So you still have a life to live, to move forward in, to accomplish whatever it is you want to accomplish. Whatever that's affecting you, you got to move past it, and you got to do the work to move past it. I'm not going to say it's easy. I'm not saying that at all, but you have plenty of people out here that are providing support, whether that's a therapist, a support group, someone like myself, a hair loss support coach, whatever that is, there you have tools. So reach out and grab those tools and get what you need and live life to the fullest, because you are beautiful. You are beautiful. And I want you to know that. I'm not saying any of this to say, hey, you guys, you need to shave your hair off. I'm not saying that. I'm saying I want you to be confident enough to rock a bald head if you want to. And if you want to still wear your wigs, your extensions, your hair wraps, whatever it is you're doing, be confident in that as well. Okay, still hold your head up high. Don't think people are looking at you in a certain kind of way. You're still beautiful regardless. And that's all I have.
Oh, Kellie, thank you so much. Guys, make sure you check out the Limitless Mindset Coach. We'll make sure that all the links to contact Kellie are in the show notes. Really, really appreciate you being here today and sharing your story. We're going to wrap up the way we do our other episodes. You are never stuck. You are never lost. You are never, ever alone. At any given moment, you can use your power to pivot, make a new choice, and start again.